Episode 70 of the LOTD pod. I'm Flick.
And this is Richard.
And this week we're going to be doing another edition of I'm Gonna Make You Love Me. We are talking about Abba, The Visitors, and Courtney Barnett. Sometimes I sit and think, and sometimes I just sit.
That's right. Two really solid albums. And as we were getting ready to tape this segment, we realized that it makes sense alphabetically.
That's right. We're I guess as we go, we're gonna have to, like, the next editions are going to be a C and a D. So we're gonna figure out how that all will shake out.
I think there's some Devo in your future, Flick.
Oh, okay, I'll take it.
Me too.
All right, so that's coming up next on the left of the LOTD pod. The Time Worm by Richard Shirk, and guess who's sitting across from me right now?
It's Richard Shirk.
Yeah, and this week on episode 70 of the LOTD pod, it's another edition of I'm Gonna Make You Love Me. Richard has given me The Visitors by Abba, which I went and listened to, and I offered to him my favorite album of the 2010s. Sometimes I sit and think, and sometimes I just sit, by Courtney Barnett.
Two really good choices. So yeah, wow. I've been listening to both of them. I'm sure you have too. So yeah, kind of, kind of the dials kind of oscillating in between, between a couple different styles, but both really good records. So Sean, what is your history with Abba? Did you know a lot about Abba before I made you listen to The Visitors, their 8th and final record?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think I'm probably like a lot of people, maybe most people that know Abba at all. They probably know the greatest hits, and that's kind of it. Like, I didn't really, I've never gone too far beyond the greatest hits, if at all. Yeah, so I definitely, for a very long period of my life, I've owned 2 editions of Abba's greatest hits. Abba Gold, which everybody just about has, and then, like, I think the Millennium Collection, was that what they were called? Those CDs?
Oh yeah, the one. Yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, so those two, I had those 2 compilations forever, and then another frame of reference for Abba for me, years back. This place isn't there anymore, but it was a great place in Chicago called the Chicago Brauhaus, which was a German restaurant and featured a polka band, and anytime I ever went there, later in the evening they would bust out covers, which, well, I mean, they were all covers, obviously, but or maybe not. Maybe they had originals. I don't know. I'm not going to paint them into a corner with that. They weren't just a cover band, perhaps, but definitely their bread and butter were the covers. And late in the evening, they would always bust into a lot of late era Elvis and a lot of Abba.
Please. Yeah. All right. Let's go see that band, right?
That's right. I don't know where they're playing these days because the restaurant isn't there anymore.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Hopefully they're playing somewhere. Yeah, so Abba, like, I'm a sucker for, Take a Chance on Me. It's very catchy. I'm not always on board with Abba sonically. I think it's, I don't know, it's just kind of tough for me in some cases. They like to do a lot of things in the studio that aren't necessarily my cup of tea, but the songs are always catchy. They're they're just always great with melodies. It always sounds like ABBA though. Like ABBA could do Delta blues, and somehow it's going to sound like ABBA.
Yeah, it's usually when they get to the vowels, you can really hear the Swedish enunciation. Yeah, I'm looking at my LP copy of the Visitors right now, and I think I probably have I just happen to have their complete discography on vinyl. What a
So that
coincidence!
goes back to even like do you have like the first album that wasn't actually an ABBA album until it was sold in the US? Do you have like the Swedish version of that or anything like that?
Yeah, I think you're referring to Ring Ring, which is credited to Bjorn Benny and Agneta Frida. And then even Waterloo, it's credited to ABBA, but in parentheticals, it's Bjorn, Benny, Anna, and Frida. So, and all of them, if I can just go for a bit of a foray into ABBA history, all of them in Sweden were like really well-known artists before ABBA. So both um, Frida and Agnetha had uh, really big, really big solo careers, and then both Benny and Bjorn were in a band called the Hep Stars, who were kind of riding the wave of the British invasion. And if you want to see like the best album cover, you gotta do the Google search and find the Hep Stars album, because it's just Swedish rock and roll naivete right there. It's worth it.
All right, well let's see. Okay, yeah, I see what you're talking about. Those are it's kind of their take on the mop top is what it looks like.
I think they were, when you dub a cassette enough times and it becomes like warbly, and it's the game of telephone, and I think that they had kind of their own thing going on. They're really
Yeah.
fun.
It's
uh,
it's it's kind of like if a mullet can be a mop top also is what
uh, I think
well
the guy in the center, I don't have that album in front of me, but I want to. um okay, so the album that we're talking about is like, there are five guys in the band, and then there's another star for the album title. And my favorite guy is definitely the middle top. I think that's a kind of like a Ren Fair haircut by
yeah,
way of the 1960s.
good. Yeah, that's a good comparison. It's kind of like he could be a knight or something.
And then the guy directly below him is just, that's like the best facial expression on any record.
Well, and then in the lower left, well, you got a guy that kind of looks like um
He looks like a
uh,
Gibbs brother, like
he almost looks like he could have been in the NBA in the 70s or something, actually.
yeah, very very
Like,
interesting group of guys. But
he looks like he could post up.
yeah, yeah, if you're playing like 60s ball, yeah. um so yeah, the ABBA, like we were just talking about, ABBA comes from a bunch of people that were in super popular bands, and then yeah, like their earlier records are really fun. A lot of, Waterloo is obviously a Eurovision winner. Eurovision being the global game show that started, I believe, in what, like the 40s or early 50s, for the best pop song in the world. And every country sends a delegation uh, with their, like a lot of really cool early Serge Gainsbourg songs or Eurovision uh, submissions. So Waterloo, and then they're totally a pop band, right?
Hmm.
And they pair off, right? Bjorn and Agnetha. get married like right away, and then Benny and Frida are together, and they get married towards the end of the band. But I think pretty soon, right around the time of the Visitors, I think both couples are
Right.
divorced.
Yeah, the Visitors is like their divorce album.
Yeah, and it's their divorce record, their last album. But I think it's neat to kind of listen to this in continuum with Voulez-Vous and Arrival and Super Trooper, which are the three previous records, where they're progressively like getting, further away from just having cool pop songs and actually kind of writing some more avant-garde out there tunes.
Yeah. Yeah, and so getting to that, like I think an interesting place to start. I think the title track, "The Visitors," is not one that would have been destined to be a big top 40 success or anything like that, but an interesting song, and I think probably my favorite song on the album. I really like the way that one builds. It's really interesting, and yeah, then you go into head over heels, which that's definitely more the ABBA that I think everybody's familiar with. But this kind of sounds like a cabaret sort of tune, and this is kind of where I'm talking, where there's a bit of this is sonically challenging for me because the vocals when compressed together the way that they are in those recordings, there's like a plastic sort of sound to it, which I think was part of what made them what they were, and probably added to their success. But for me, like, I don't know, like I like the songs. I think the songs are always really catchy and everything, but just the sound of them not always the greatest. Like I wish there were more covers of ABBA songs that were done by bands that I'm really into. Although it just doesn't seem to work that way. Bands that I like don't tend to cover ABBA, but they
They're
probably
missing out. Yeah, they
they
really are.
should. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Like it's somebody really missing a bet.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I don't happen to that doesn't really put me off.
No, I'm sure.
But I think they are doing some interesting things on this record with the studio. Well, I think all the records are studio albums, and then the live shows are secondary. And I'm sure that there are ABBA tunes that uh, they probably couldn't play live,
Hmm.
and um, I I think it's such a cool. I think ABBA and Thriller by Michael Jackson and some Pink Floyd records are kind of fit together in this genre of people that are really finding their step, their groove by having studios when studios are like peak, like classic analog. Well, okay, maybe not with Thriller because there's a lot of digital stuff on that, but old school studios, unlimited time, unlimited money, and this is the kind of cool album that you get. I think that
Yeah, well,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, there are definitely different ways you could go with that, because if that's the category, I would also put like Led Zeppelin as well as the Beach Boys as well as the Beatles in those categories. Like definitely doing as much with the studio as a band can really. Um, but there are just different ways of using that, and like I don't know, the strength with all of that stuff really is that even though they were pushing the studios to its bounds, the songs are always what's really doing the heavy lifting anyway. And I think that that's the case here too. Like I think ABBA songs are strong if you strip them down. That's why I would think it would be really interesting to see what they're like covered by certain artists.
Definitely, yeah, and yeah, I like this album a lot. I think "Soldiers" is a really another really good example of ABBA writing
Yeah.
some tunes that are just like not ever going to be singles and just really interesting, cool tunes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah. So soldiers, what I think is really interesting about that is the manipulation of the backing vocals. Um, really, I don't know if I don't know what it compares to in its time, but it's something that sounds just as fresh today. I think like that's interesting what they do sonically there, and it like the vocal manipulation that they have on that really gives it like this spacey quality to it, and also interesting use of minor chords in that song too.
Oh wow, you've been picking apart the you've been analyzing the musicology.
That's what I do. That's it's it's just a tendency I have. I do want to go back to track three. So Soldiers is track four. I want to want to mention track three quickly when all is said and done, because so an all right, yeah, decent enough song. I like the melody quite a bit. I think the melody is pretty strong. Um, the line slightly worn but dignified and not too old for sex.
That's a weird one, isn't it?
it's a, it's a very interesting line, but also on more than one level. There's the obvious interesting point of that lyric, but it made me think of something. Like maybe they're referencing the Modern Lovers, which I can't believe is likely. But what if they were? Because the Modern Lovers had the song "Dignified and Old," and what if that was a shout out to Jonathan Richman? That's
Oh, you just blew my mind there, Flick. Yeah, who knows? I'm not. One of the interesting things about being being an ABBA fan, I'm always kind of trolling streaming services for like cool documentaries about bands that I like, which I think a lot of people are doing, especially during this global health crisis. And there is no like the ABBA anthology 6-hour documentary. It's pretty. Maybe there is in Sweden, but not
I bet,
not
yeah.
available here. So it's very slim pickings. But from what I can tell from the one ABBA documentary that I was able to find is that they I think that they're hip to a lot of things that are going on, but I'm not sure that they're hanging out with Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers.
No, not hanging out, but maybe they're giving a little shout out to him.
I'd like to think so.
I would too. I'm gonna just take that and run with it. I'm not gonna let anybody talk me down from that one.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, shout out to JoJo.
So side two starts with "I Let the Music Speak," a song probably not in Mamma Mia. I've never seen Mamma Mia.
You haven't seen
Uh,
Mamma Mia Part 2?
I no, I don't know if I ever will. I'll just be honest.
You can
Uh,
start with the second one and it kind of fills you in on all the plot gaps that you may have missed.
okay, well, it's good to know that I can pick up with the second one and I won't be lost. But yeah, this is a pretty natural song for a musical. It's a very operatic song, but I'm just gonna guess it's not Mamma Mia. That's really all I have to say.
I think with a lot of things that you can maybe even think of as B-sides, a lot of them make it onto the Mamma Mia films because there's just it's a lot of screen time to fill, and they do have a really good eye towards uh, theatrical songs, and on ABBA the album, and a little bit in the documentary they talk about how when they were filming ABBA the movie, they wanted to make like a big, like you mentioned, cabaret. I think that's a cabaret or like Bertolt Brecht kind of interlude in their live show that showed how musical they are and how interesting they are as songwriters too. So On side 2 of ABBA, the album, you have a track called "Girl with the Golden Hair," which is kind of a little operetta, 3 scenes from a mini musical. It says on the LP, but it's "Thank You for the Music," "I Wander," and "I'm a Marionette." "I'm a Marionette" is just really weird, interesting, cool uh, song, kind of like a deep cut on a Queen record almost. So yeah, definitely a very observant point that you made. That yeah, a lot of this stuff is just made for made for a big show. Whether it's
Yeah.
Broadway or a film or whatever.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how it took so long for Mamma Mia to come into existence. It seems like it was always there to be had. Um, by the way, Abba the movie, I'm not familiar with it. Is it plot driven?
I haven't been able to find it,
Okay.
so I don't know. But I think it's one of it part of the genre of like, really thin plot that it's like, "Oh, we have to get them to the stadium on time so they can
Yeah, I was
play the
wondering
show."
if it would be better or worse than Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
Which I've been looking for, but I can't find. I Yeah, a good double feature for, uh,
Yeah.
when global health crisis is over. We'll make
So
that
are
happen.
you trying to find it to stream or to actually get a copy?
I'm not a Kiss fan. I don't have a really deep knowledge of that band, but what I've read about the movie, I'm a big fan of, like, really weird B movies. So, like, wow, that movie sounds just exactly what I wanna see,
Yeah,
like, any day of the week. Yes, please.
I have seen that one.
Have you?
I yeah. That might be another show. Maybe we'll have to once we both see it, we'll do like our at the movies for Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
And then I'll see the ABBA movie, and I'll talk about it during our Kiss, podcast, so
That's
that
right.
works out.
Okay, track 3 on side 2, 2 for the price of 1.
Weird
Totally
song.
ripped off. Totally ripped off by Ace of Base for the sign. This is totally the basis for that song.
Is it?
Yeah, I didn't know whether you would agree or disagree. So you're just not sure?
I don't really listen to Ace of Base recreationally, and
No, but
now that there's no gym to go to, I'm never rickrolled by it, so
but but that song was so ubiquitous. You don't remember that one?
which one were you referencing?
The sign, like their biggest hit.
Yeah, I think yeah, I could probably hum it for you, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, one of us is definitely. Or did I say 2 for the price of 1?
Yeah.
I'm talking about one of us. One of us is the basis for that song. I'm sorry, I was mixing those two. So track 2, one of us, totally ripped off by Ace of Base on the sign. 2 for the price of 1, though. Let's discuss that. That's another interesting lyrical gem. Um,
Yeah, it's, it was a different era, right? But,
so
yeah,
the
yeah.
subject matter of the song is there's this janitor apparently, and he's lonely. He, I
Wait,
guess, because
Jamie.
he's a
Yeah,
janitor, like never marries. That's the way the story's told.
yeah,
Um, and sees an ad that he thinks is for a menage a trois,
yeah.
and thinks, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then there's a little plot twist to it.
The nights are cold in Sweden.
That's right. And he thought he'd really warm them up.
Yeah, yeah, it was weird all around.
So
So, yeah, keep going. I love your synopsis.
that one caught me off guard. Yeah, next one is slipping through my fingers. I don't have too much on that one. Then the
I
ender.
think, sorry to interrupt, but, yeah, slipping through my fingers, I think, is, a neat song because, yeah, like, 2 for the Price of 1 is a weird song, but really highlights how lyrically they can write a story. It doesn't have to be drawing. Maybe one of them was a janitor at some point in their life
Yeah,
and
that's
had to
right. It's a
reinitiate.
story song, much like Merle Haggard would write.
Right, and if you are a student of ABBA and go through their discography, you see that there are certain like subgenres within their work where they're really narrative. Like Fernando, I think is a good one.
Hmm.
But yeah, definitely a weird one. And then that's to contrast that. Why I'm talking about the previous song before is that "Slipping Through My Fingers" is very, very confessional, very introspective about what is going on in the band, where both couples are either divorced or in the process of being divorced.
Mm, yeah. So more biographical than Two for the Price of One per se.
Probably, but you never know. Um, so I thought that was kind of neat. And there are other precedents for that, like Fleetwood Mac or something. But thought that was a nice addition to this album that maybe you don't see as much in their other work, where they're not writing love songs to each other. Maybe who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, yeah, like Fleetwood Mac, they were their own little soap opera. Um, yeah, and then the final track, "Like an Angel Passing Through My Room," very much like a hymn. Um, like I said, they seem to draw on a lot of different influences, a lot of influences that you don't necessarily think would go into pop music. And this very much seems like a just a church hymn. Very nice, very beautiful.
So your final verdict on this record, you liked it, right?
Yeah, I do like it. Yeah,
You're on eBay right now looking for the complete discography on vinyl. Yeah.
that hasn't happened yet. No, that
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I I don't know, but it did start me to putting together like a little ABBA favorites list on my Spotify account.
Does it include the eagle from ABBA the album?
Not yet, not
Okay.
yet, but
Okay.
but it's a work in progress. Uh,
As are we
so
all. Yeah.
that's right, as everybody and everything is. If you want to know what made it onto my playlist from this album, the title track, as I mentioned, is my favorite one. Let's see, "Soldiers" made it. "When All Is Said and Done" made it, and "One of Us" made it.
Right on. Well, I'm really glad that you liked it, and thanks for giving this a chance. I try and speak to my indie rock friends about ABBA sometimes, and they just shut me down. So
Yeah, they're missing out. Like I totally like Juliana Hatfield. She so far has put out an Olivia Newton-John album and a Police covers album.
Oh yeah, cool. Okay.
She really should do. I don't know if she's into ABBA or not, but
Is she
she should
listening right now?
really. What's that?
Is she listening right now?
If she is, I really suggest that Juliana Hatfield, if you're listening right now, or whenever, because this is recorded, so you don't have to be listening right now. You're definitely not listening right now as we
We're
record
we're not
this.
live, Sean.
We're not live. You're not streaming live. Whenever you happen to be listening to this, if you ever do, please consider doing an ABBA covers album. It would be so great.
Thank you, sincerely.
Sincerely.
Yeah, good. All right. Thank you. The impassioned plea for that missing piece of
My desperate plea to Juliana Hatfield.
the meta oeuvre. Okay, well, cool. Thank you. That was a good talk. And ABBA followed by Barnett.
Courtney Barnett. Uh, I don't know, to me, probably the best artist going these days. I think, and this album came out in 2015, and pretty much ever since then, it's top to my rotation, and been it ended up being my favorite album of the 2010s, and One of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, and the album is called,
Sometimes I sit and think, and sometimes I just sit.
which is just charming right off the bat, and it's a really cool record. I had listened to this a couple times when it came out, and then Sean mentioned how much it meant to him, and if it meant that much to Flick, then I really got to just dive into it, and it's a great record. It's loud, it's clever, um, it's fun and breezy, and like we were just talking about with ABBA. I think there are a lot of songs on this record that give you little vignettes of Courtney Barnett's life that you really want to just be there when she's buying organic vegetables at the grocery.
Yeah, you know, like what you said about right off the bat with the title. Sometimes I sit and think, and sometimes I just sit. Like it's personality. Her personality just comes through in everything that she does, and she just has such a unique slant on everything. And like I love it so much musically, but it is so much about her personality that's such a huge part of what drives this for me. What makes it stand out from all the other stuff.
Totally, yeah. And I don't know about you. Are you still playing a lot of guitar these days, Sean?
I don't play too much, but I would like to. It's a matter of free time. If I had more free time, I would play more, but I just don't.
Well, this album at one point a couple years ago, and then just like yesterday, led me down the rabbit hole of looking at Harmony H95
Mhm.
guitars,
Yeah.
and which is one of the many guitars that Courtney Barnett plays, and she's got such a cool style, and such a cool style that I've really researched some of the gear that she's using, and there's no way that you can replicate it because she's just she shreds and in a good way, and also a southpaw, kind of looping us back to
That's
the
yeah.
Macca conversation, and I think that so yeah, walking through the record, I think Elevator Operator is a good track to start on, and the lead off track really kind of sets you up for how Courtney Barnett tells a story, and it yeah, another song that really is like a self-contained narrative. And what I one of the many things I like about her is that I love Australian bands, and I love any band that doesn't feel like they need to hide their accent,
Mhm.
uh, so the Go-Betweens, kind of a contemporary of Courtney Barnett is Alex Leahy, who my buddy Rand told me about. We went to go see her. And then Robert Forster's kid is playing in a band called the Goonsack. So yeah, those are all bands that are Australian and don't feel like they need to hide it. What if the Beatles sang in their original accent? It would be like twice as cool. But she's also her delivery, just how she sings a song is really interesting to me. Uh,
Actually, it would be the Kinks if the Beatles did that.
yeah, totally. I love the Kings. But yeah, I like how she sings a song. It's um, not melodic in the traditional sense. It's almost like talking blues. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, she does somehow manage to blur the lines because she isn't the most melodic singer, but her song I would say her songs are melodic though. It's more the music driving the melody than the vocals, you know.
Totally, yeah. And yeah, and yeah, just this. These are I'm listening on Spotify. But yeah, the stories are great. The music is just really cool Australian indie. If you listen, do you ever check in on Triple J,
No.
Australian indie radio? It's a good time. Let's see. I think another contemporary of Courtney Barnett's that kind of has the same delivery is Kurt Vile, and they made a record together, which I haven't really been able to absorb.
Yeah,
But
not so much my favorite. I like both of them, but that album, there's kind of a half-baked quality to it. It's a little bit kind of like it was hashed out in an afternoon or something, which I'm not saying it was. I don't think that that's quite like I don't think it's just this slapped together thing, but I just feel like it could have been something more than what it ended up being.
right, and I think that that's one of the things I was kind of dancing around with the way that she sings is that it would be really easy to say that it's kind of like um, slapped together or whatever, but I think it's just her own style and is really cool. I guess in a lot of interviews, people ask her if she's into like hip hop or rap because there's that same kind of like flow to it. Um, and so speaking of Triple J, if you look into their video archives, there's a great performance of Courtney Barnett, and I think just her drummer playing a cover of Black Skinhead by Kanye West, and it totally rocks. It's great. I think that uh, aside from this record, she also made one of my favorite singles from the past few years is "Nameless Faceless," which I think is really powerful song. I can't think of too many songs off the top of my head that are a direct response or discussion of the Me Too movement, and I think that that's one that that is and is just does so perfectly. Pretty sure that ends up on that ends up on her next record, which is "Tell Me How You Really Feel."
Hmm.
Kind of buried because it's one of my favorite songs by her, and totally aside from being topical, which is really hard to do to write a topical song that isn't too on the nose or whatever, but it's just a great song. So if you haven't heard her song "Nameless Faceless" and you like "Sometimes I Sit," then uh, go check it out. How is that? I'm looking at her Spotify and it's not even on her top songs.
Well, that as I've discussed over the course of the podcast with Rudy, um, my take on the top songs is Spotify puts together playlists, and that always corresponds with what ends up being the top song. So people go to those playlists, and then that drives up the numbers. But the song choices aren't always the right song choices. So that's why I don't pay much attention to what ends up being the top songs. You
Yeah.
really have to take it with a huge grain of salt.
Yeah, and big shout out to Rudy, who I've been co-host with on a couple different shows, and good guy. Uh, his absence is missed. We'll catch up with him, I'm sure, at some point.
Yeah, we'll be joined here and there by Rudy, I'm sure.
Um, so one of the cool things about this Courtney Barnett record too is that there are a couple tunes like Debbie Downer is one. I think it shows up on another track too. Pedestrian at Best. Oh, that's a cat. Hi, Bubs. Can you hear this guy, Sean?
I can, yeah. I think my dog can too.
Yeah, Bubs loves music and loves his daddy. But yeah, the you mentioned the Kinks earlier, and one of the neat things about the Kinks is that they're not afraid to, if they find a good riff, they're going to use it a couple times, right?
Hmm.
And I respect that a lot. And so,
That's kind of a Rick Nielsen thing too, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. So, yeah, just some really tasty like garage band. I wouldn't say like 3-chord rock songs on this record, but tunes that you can tell are just a ton. They're really fun to play, and I think she has a good solid band that's been with her for a while, and you can tell on the record.
Yeah, and I don't know. So you mentioned pedestrian at best. Like I think like if you ever get a chance to see her live, you definitely want to bring some earplugs with you because she is honestly one of the loudest shows that I've ever been to, and
Oh wow, okay.
I'm talking like put her up there with Bob Mould. Uh, almost like My Bloody Valentine level. Like the three loudest shows I've ever been to are My Bloody Valentine, Sugar, and Courtney Barnett. So like you might not be expecting that going in, but Pedestrian at Best is a song that gives you an idea of how loud she can be. But also, like gives you some of her best turns of phrase, I think. And just like her brain, like the way that she sees things, I think she sees turns of phrase in kind of a natural way, like it's just like water to her. It just flows. But yeah, then contrast that with Depreston, and just and the title kind of gives you an idea of what that song is like. It's about house hunting, but just how that how that sort of lifestyle change can put a damper on the mood, and I don't know. There's so many. I really like, for me, the only songs, or probably one song I would leave off, is Kim's Caravan, track 10. It just kind of, to me, just diminishes the momentum of the album. And I don't think it's a bad song. It just kills the momentum.
You
And
can't
then
rock all the time, but yeah.
right, that's right. Yeah, and it's also fine. If for an album to have a momentum stoppage at around track 10, you're winning. You're totally winning.
Um, I want to say that Boxing Day Blues is such a cool way to end the record. It's kind of like this dusty, slow acoustic uh, tune. Some, I think, some slide guitar in there.
Hmm.
Uh, I think that's so important to end the record with that kind of song. And I'm just assuming that Courtney Barnett is hip to go-betweens because she's Australian.
She
Uh,
probably is. Like she covers a lot. Like she'll cover In Excess, and when one of the shows, the first time I saw her live, I've seen her live three, four times.
wow.
Uh, and the first time I saw her live, like I had to. I was pretty happy with the like the house music before she took the stage, and the scientists were included in that. Um, so I think she's pretty, like I don't know that I'm not going to go so far as to say like she understands she's carrying the flag or anything like that, but there's definitely a sense of that, though, that she likes to pay tribute to her fellow band, Aussie bands, Aussie rocks.
One of Robert Forster's 10 Rules of Rock and Roll, Robert Forster from the Go-Betweens, is always put your least favorite song second to last on your record.
Okay, well then I guess that works then.
Yeah, so that's where I was getting to with that.
But but Debbie Downer going into Boxing Day Blues, I think that would be so, like, the album would just be perfect then. And that would be, it's already my favorite album of the 2010s. It would, like, it can't really climb any higher up on the ladder, but it would be even that much better though.
Yeah, and I'm little I'm jealous that you got to see her play. I suppose I had a couple opportunities to see her play and I didn't. And I think we're all kind of kicking ourselves for those kind of things where it's like,
Because
oh, I would have gone, but it was a Wednesday and I have to work in the morning. It's like, well,
yeah.
now you're stuck in your apartment or your house for
Right.
indefinite amount of time. And
But if we ever get out, then we'll take advantage of everything from now on.
yeah, so I'm gonna play fast and loose with the call to action stuff. But yeah, when we get out of global health crisis pandemic, uh, uh, whenever that is, and Courtney Barnett's playing down the street, go see her, right?
Yeah, or even if she's playing in the next state, make a road trip.
Speaking of live tours and circling back a bit, ABBA was supposed to tour this year as holograms.
So meaning recorded, or are they doing it live and then being projected somewhere else?
I think they are just sending the pre-recorded music and the holograms out on tour, which is kind of a thing. I think I briefly thought about getting tickets for the Roy Orbison hologram tour, which ended up getting canceled.
I'm ambivalent to say the least about that, I would say.
So I think I might agree with you, but so did you go into Chicago to see Courtney Barnett?
So the first time was when I lived in Chicago, and I've seen her a couple times in Chicago.
At the Metro or where?
At the Riviera.
Oh, yeah.
So not the best venue, but the venue that books well. But yeah, it would be better to see her at the Metro, I think. But also I've seen her she was in Des Moines, right here in Des Moines, for the 8035 festival a couple of years ago. And then after that, like a couple weeks after that, she was in Minnesota at Surly, at the Surly Brewery.
Huh. Well, I missed all of those shows, and I'm mad at you now, Sean, because you didn't tell me. Just kidding. I live, like I said, I live in California, so.
That's right. Where I'm sure there are opportunities, and there will be opportunities again. Like you'll have a better chance of seeing her next between the two of us, I'm thinking.
Okay, well, we just got to stay strong.
That's right. We gotta beat the pandemic, and then if that happens, maybe I'll fly out to California to see her with you.
Yeah, I'd love that. It's been too long, buddy.
That's right.
So I'm kind of I feel good about the record that you asked me to really get into this week. Courtney Barnett. Sometimes I sit and think. Sometimes I just sit. And then I really enjoyed giving you something kind of out of our normal batch of bands that we talk about, and give you some ABBA. So what else is going on in the Left of the Dial podcast?
Well, I think the thing that we have to cover quick is will there be a lasting impact of the Courtney Barnett album? Is this going to have many happy returns for you?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I go through phases where I don't listen to vocal music. I listen to a lot of classical music, and I go through phases where I go down a rabbit hole of like maybe one particular band, and then yearly, gotta just listen to Christmas music for about 3 months. So yeah, it's definitely got a place in my rotation. So thank you for reminding me of such a cool record.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so mission accomplished then.
Mission accomplished.
All right. Okay. So yeah, we do have a busy week coming up. So we will be covering new music. We'll have that out in a day or two. We have a lot of new music from January that we want to cover, and we're also going to put together a couple of Valentine's Day playlists centered around unrequited love. So that look for that late in the week, maybe around Thursday or so. We'll say.
That's going to be such a fun show, and I look forward to digging out some maybe some mixtapes I made when I was a teenager. So
That's
we'll see
that's
what
right.
happens.
So yeah, we'll get that all. Have that all for you coming up later on in the week, and then a week from now we're going to start a new segment. We haven't done this yet. It's just like a new idea that's been percolating that we call revisionist history, where we are going to do a re-examination of a couple albums that we think maybe didn't get a fair shake in their day, or maybe they did. I guess the jury is kind of out on it, but we'll see where we end up with it. And we're going to discuss Trans by Neil Young and the Rolling Stones' Satanic Majesty's Request.
Two really great records. Can't wait.
Yeah, we'll have that in a week from now.
All right. Well, this has been educational and entertaining. Lots of good tunes. And just a reminder to our listeners, we will have a lot of these tunes on our Left of the Dial Spotify playlist. And reminder to Juliana Hatfield.
That's right.
If she feels like it, Juliana, if you feel like it, if you want to make an ABBA,
I'm in no position to force anybody to do anything.
It's just like we just really want you to. So we're not,
Yeah, it's really just something to consider. Something that I think,
if you're bored.
Yeah, exactly. Because you might be cooped up like we all are, and might not know what to do with your free time. An ABBA covers album, I think, is the best way to go with that.
Okay. Well, Flick, it's been, as always, a pleasure to nerd out with you about music.
That's right. Always a pleasure to nerd out with you. And again, we'll have more coming up later in the week, and another full show in a week from now.
Okay. See you next time. This has been Left of the Dial.
Catch you later.